With the multiverse saga building up to its big finale in Avengers Secret Wars, it looks like the X-Men and their legendary villains are finally stepping into the spotlight in the next phase of the MCU. While fan favorites like Magneto and Wolverine are pretty much guaranteed to return, there's one villain who still hasn't gotten the recognition he really deserves: Juggernaut. And now, there's a theory floating around that we might actually see a younger version of him show up in the upcoming Avengers Doomsday movie. So, let's break down everything we've heard so far. So, about this younger version of Juggernaut showing up in Avengers Doomsday, the theory's picking up steam for a reason. With Marvel diving deep into the multiverse, it gives them the perfect excuse to reintroduce classic characters in completely fresh ways. And let's be honest, Juggernaut's never really had his big moment in live action. Sure, we've seen him in a few films, but he's either been underused or more comic relief than actual threat. This time around, though, the buzz suggests Marvel might be going for a younger, rawer take on Cain Marko, digging into his early days and placing him into a much bigger role. So where could he come from? That's where things start to get interesting. With Secret Wars and Doomsday setting the stage for incursions and worlds colliding, it's totally possible that this Juggernaut isn't from Earth 616. A lot of fans are pointing to Earth 1610, the Ultimate Universe, which was recently revived in the comics and has been playing a big role again. In that version, Juggernaut isn't just some dumb tank of a villain, he's more calculated, more brutal, and has a very different origin. He's not tied to mystical powers like in the main timeline. Instead, he's a mutant and part of Weapon X, which opens up a whole different vibe. But even if Marvel doesn't go full Ultimate style, there's another take they might be pulling from: the classic X-Men comics, particularly Juggernaut's original backstory from X-Men number 12 in 1965, where we learn he's Charles Xavier's stepbrother. That's a massive piece of lore that's never been properly used in the films, and it could make for some seriously emotional storytelling if they choose to explore it. Imagine a younger Cain Marko, still dealing with resentment, still feeling like he's living in Xavier's shadow, getting recruited by someone like Dr. Doom or Kang from another timeline, and being promised the power and respect he's always wanted. Because the thing about Juggernaut is, he's not just a one-note villain who charges into battle screaming. At his core, he's someone who's angry at the world, especially at his own family. He feels like an outsider, like he was never given a fair shot. And when he stumbles upon the Crimson Gem of Cyttorak, the ancient artifact that transforms him into the Juggernaut, it's not just about getting stronger, it's about being unstoppable. It's his way of saying, I won't be ignored anymore. So if Marvel taps into that emotion and we see a younger Cain on the verge of becoming that unstoppable force, it could be one of the most compelling character arcs in the film. Now, what makes Avengers Doomsday such a good place to introduce him? It's the chaos. The multiverse is collapsing, timelines are bleeding into each other, and the boundaries between heroes and villains are being pushed. That's exactly the kind of storm where a character like Juggernaut can rise, especially if we're seeing multiple factions, maybe a version of the Brotherhood of Mutants from another world, or even a multiversal team being assembled by Doom himself. If Dr. Doom is setting up his own army, hand-picking variants of powerful beings from across realities, a young, rage-fueled Juggernaut would be an ideal recruit. He's loyal to strength, not ideology, which makes him the kind of wild card Doom could manipulate. There's also this idea floating around that the younger Juggernaut won't just be a henchman, he'll actually be torn between two worlds. Some leaks and fan theories suggest he might come from a universe where Xavier died before he and Cain ever reconciled. So this Juggernaut's pain is raw and unresolved, and when he arrives in Earth 616 and sees our version of Professor X alive, possibly older, wiser, and leading mutants again, it could trigger all kinds of inner conflict. That's a great angle to explore because it adds emotional weight to what would otherwise just be a superpowered slugfest. And let's not forget the visual potential here. A younger Juggernaut would be less armored up and more gritty, maybe with early-stage Cyttorak corruption showing through his skin, crimson cracks, glowing eyes, maybe even unstable powers. Unlike the older version, who's already fully transformed, this one might be in transition, still figuring out what it means to carry that kind of power. That opens the door for some cool fight scenes where he's powerful but unpredictable, struggling to control what he's becoming. Now let's talk about the multiversal angle a bit more. Marvel has already shown us that not every variant has to look or act the same. Just look at Loki, Spider-Man No Way Home, and Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness. So even if we've already seen a Juggernaut in Deadpool 2, that doesn't mean this one can't be totally different. In fact, leaning into that difference is what could make him stand out. They might even give him a slightly different name, like Kane the Crimson or Marco the Unstoppable, especially if he hasn't fully taken on the Juggernaut title yet. As for his arc in Avengers Doomsday, it could go one of two ways. He might start off as a villain, brought in by Doom or some other big bad, and then slowly realize he's being used, pushed toward a redemption path. Or he could double down on his rage, becoming one of the major threats the Avengers have to deal with in the final act. Either way, it would give him far more depth than he's had before. And who knows, this could even set the stage for a future X-Men reboot in the MCU. Introducing a younger Juggernaut now, showing his history with Xavier, and establishing that mutant drama across timelines could make it easier for Marvel to weave mutants into their main universe without forcing it all to happen at once. Juggernaut, in this way, becomes a bridge, a symbol of the pain and history that mutants carry with them, no matter the universe they come from. Now let's think about the connections to other characters. If we're seeing a young Magneto, or even a variant of Quicksilver and Scarlet Witch from another timeline, Juggernaut could totally fit in with them. In some universes, they've even fought side by side. In others, they're enemies. That shifting dynamic could be part of the fun, watching familiar faces interact in unfamiliar ways. And with the power levels escalating in the MCU, throwing Juggernaut into the mix gives heroes like Hulk, Thor, or even Captain Marvel someone they can't just punch through. And don't rule out the idea that he might have a sibling rivalry with Xavier that mirrors or parallels something else going on in the movie. Avengers Doomsday is rumored to be a film full of emotional confrontations, friends fighting friends, heroes meeting broken versions of themselves, so throwing in a brother versus brother story fits perfectly into that theme. And that's that for today's video. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next one.